Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here this evening. I'm excited to jump in and talk about all things LinkedIn. But I want to start with a question, and I want you to answer it honestly, but just answer it to yourself. When was the last time then that an opportunity found you? Not one that you chased, not one that you applied for, but one that just landed in your inbox because someone you had never met said, "Man, I've been following you. I want to work with you. I see what you're doing." The problem is that for a lot of brilliant, hardworking, highly credentialed professionals, the answer is probably never, or maybe once, or it might have even been by accident. And I need to hear this. I need you to hear this very clearly, right? It's not because you're not good enough. It's not because people who could change your life don't know that you exist. It's none of that. But what it is that we just need to be more visible. And that's what we can fix tonight. So my name is Dr. Nkem Ezamama. I'm an emergency medicine physician, founder and CEO of Phoenix Capital, and someone who has built a $153 million real estate portfolio while still working shifts in the ER. And LinkedIn was the engine behind all of it. Not ads, not cold calls, just LinkedIn, but really using it strategically. So in the next 75 minutes, I'm going to show you the exact framework that I use. So close every tab, get a pen and paper. What I'm about to share with you is a lot of good stuff. So take notes, take screenshots. If anything resonates with you, I want you to grab it, implement it, because the idea is that we all grow together. Because what I'm about to share with you took 18 months of really trial and error to figure it out, and you're going to get it in the next 75 minutes. So again, I said in the beginning, but toss any questions in the chat that you have, any processes, how this works, how it could work, and then I'm going to answer that at the end. And then, so I asked you that first question, but now I want to ask you another one. And I want to ask you something, and I want you to be honest. You can raise your hand or drop a yes in the chat if this sounds familiar, right? On LinkedIn, have you posted before and felt like you're not talking to anyone, right? You have had the credentials that took years to build, but your profile still looks like a resume from like 2015. But the thing is that you know that you're capable of more, but you just can't figure out how to make the right people truly aware of you. If any of that landed, or if any of that resonated with you, then you're in the right place, because this is what nobody tells us. Because a lot of us here, I would say all of us here are high achievers. We're trained to be excellent, but we were never trained to be seen. And in 2026, yes, 2026, being unseen is going to be one of the most expensive decisions that you can make, because every single day that you're not showing up strategically on LinkedIn, someone else is having those conversations that should have been yours. Whether they're getting investor introductions, they're getting consultation, speaking engagements, partnerships, finding mentees, like promoting something that you're passionate about, but it's not you. And it's not because they're smarter, right? And it's not because they work harder than you, but it's because that they are visible. And right now, you're probably not as visible, or maybe you're just starting and you're starting to think about it. And tonight, I really want that to change. And that's why we're having this conversation. But before I tell you how, I want to show you the what, right? I told you $153 million in real estate assets. That's what we manage today at Phoenix. And that's 770 units that was built while I was working in the ER. We've raised over $6 million from investors who have wired real money before they met face-to-face, right? Before they met us face-to-face, other than a Zoom call. And that looks like now today, 15,000 plus LinkedIn followers. And not a lot of it was not like ads dollars that was spent, right? And today I can tell you that like I've had multiple invitations to speak to healthcare professionals, to entrepreneurs, to physicians on global stages. And that's because someone found me on LinkedIn and extended an invitation. I've had private equity firms send me DMs right after following me and following my content and saying, maybe we could partner together. Here's the one thing, and all of that sounds good, but here's the one thing that I want you to sit with, right? My very first $100,000 investor found me on LinkedIn when I had maybe just 5,000 followers. And it wasn't 50, it wasn't 500, it was just 5,000. What I noticed, and she told me, was that she had been reading my content for months. And so when I announced, I was like, okay, I have a deal, right? She sent me a DM and she said, let me know the next steps so that I can invest. She had already decided, and all I was doing was just showing up consistently enough for her to find me. So you don't need a massive following. You just need the right people paying attention to what you're doing. So I want to show you how I built that. I want to take you back to a specific moment. I remember it very well. I was working in the ER, and I was good at my job. I loved my patients. I built a career that most people would call successful, right? And it looked successful from the outside. But then at some point, the business of medicine kind of started taking over, and everything started changing. Suddenly, like, the decisions about how we practiced, how we were compensated, our schedules, those didn't belong to us anymore, right? It belonged to a private equity firm that bought us over. It belonged to people in C-suites and in the boardrooms, and they were never at the bedside one time. And I remember sitting down and feeling like and realizing that something wasn't the way I had envisioned emergency medicine to be, right? It wasn't how I thought my practice would be long-term. And I noticed that there were a lot of layoffs of my colleagues, and I noticed that my career could be taken away from me any moment. I spent a decade building the life that I actually didn't own, and that looked like $300,000 plus in income, but I didn't have any leverage. I didn't have any equity. I didn't have any say. And you might be sitting here listening, and that might sound familiar to you, but that moment, right, as I look back at it, it didn't break me. It woke me up. And I decided, right, I didn't have all the answers, but I decided I was going to build something that someone couldn't take away from me, and that wouldn't walk away from me. But I just had to figure out what that looked like and what that was. And so I started asking different questions, not how do I get a better contract or how do I find a better hospital system, because a lot of them are the same. But I started asking, what would it look like to build something of my own? I had already started investing in real estate just as a passive investor. And so I had seen what was possible. I had experienced my very first syndication, and I had gotten returns. And I thought, well, this could be what leverage looks like. So I continued to do that, but I made a decision, right? I said, what if I brought this to other healthcare professionals? What if I built a real estate private equity investment firm with people like me who were maybe at the bedside or in different forms of the hospital in healthcare? And maybe we started thinking about building wealth, right? And not rely on someone else. I thought, okay, I'm going to raise capital. I'm going to acquire these assets, and I'm going to create this vehicle, right, that generated income, whether I was in the ER or not. But there was one problem. All I knew was emergency medicine, and all I knew was the ER. But I needed investors. I needed real investors, people who would trust me with their hard-earned money, people who would believe in what I was building. And I didn't have a Rolodex of like wealthy people waiting for my call, right? I had friends and family and my colleagues. I didn't have a really big network. And it dawned on me one day that I could build something really powerful on LinkedIn. I realized I had a story worth telling. And I'm saying that, and I'm telling you that, but I'm not the only one. A lot of us here who are listening, whether you're listening on LinkedIn or whether you're even going to be listening to the recording, a lot of us really do have a story that's worth telling. But before LinkedIn worked, right, I tried everything else. I worked more shifts, which meant just burnout and exhaustion and that same trap. You know, I did what a lot of physicians do. I kind of waited and just hoped that like things would improve on their own. I told myself that I would eventually figure it out, right? And that's the classic play that like it didn't lead anywhere, right? I tried a few side hustles, but that just meant I was trading more of my time. Nothing I really did created leverage. Nothing was building something that worked for me without me being there physically. And then I had a conversation that changed my life, or changed the trajectory of how I was thinking. A mentor of mine, someone that I deeply appreciated, said something that I could not shake. He said, you have expertise that's worth millions, but you are invisible to the people who would do something about that, right? He said, fix your visibility problem and everything else will become easier. I sat with that for a long time, but it started to reframe everything and how I thought about things. So I'd been asking how to work harder, how to do more, how to be better, right? Those were the questions that I was asking. And the real question was simpler. How do I make sure the right people know that I exist? And that's the same question that I want you to ask. How do you make sure that the right people know that you exist? And that was the day that I turned to LinkedIn, but I turned to it with a completely different intention. I didn't turn to it to find a job, not to just collect a bunch of connections, not to post like inspirational quotes into the void, which I did in the beginning, but I wanted to build a presence that was so strategic and so intentional that people I needed to reach out to would not scroll past what I was saying. And so as I'm sharing my story, right, I want you to think about your own story and what you could build if you were given the right opportunity or the right platform, right? Because this is about you. And I want to use my story to help reignite something in you and how to use LinkedIn. So I built a plan. If you know me, I'm a planner, I'm a doer. I now had an idea of what I wanted to do. And I broke it down into 4 steps. It was simple in theory, but it wasn't really. I told myself, okay, I'm going to make myself visible to the people who mattered, right? Not everyone, but the right people. I was going to slowly start figuring out who they were. Then I was going to demonstrate that credibility through the content, right? So like if I wanted to become that woman, right, I was going to show it. So I showed that. And then my third goal was to build relationships. I didn't want to build followers, not connections. I was like, okay, how can I really truly build relationships on this platform? And then the last thing I wanted to do was create leverage. And for me, that meant that like I was going to build a presence that was going to work for me while I was sleeping, while I was traveling, while I was in Nigeria, while I was working in the ER, while I was living my life, right? While I was volunteering abroad, all of those things. I wanted to build a presence that didn't rely on me being there. That plan, it sounded simple, right? It was like 1, 2, 3, 4, A, B, C, D, but the execution was so much harder than I thought. And I want to be honest with you about this part because most people who maybe teach LinkedIn or social media make it sound like they figured it out immediately, but I did not. The first 6 months were genuinely very hard. I would think through a post. I would share ideas. I always had a little notebook with me, and if any thoughts or ideas came to me, I would just write it down, and so that it would give me ideas for content to be able to share to build credibility. But I would pour everything into a post, and maybe I would get like not a lot of people, 10, 20, 30 people look at it, right? And then something that I would create like on the spur of the moment would get 2,000 eyes on it. And I didn't know why, right? I didn't have a system. I didn't have a pattern. I was just throwing things at the wall, hoping that they stuck. There were days that I almost talked myself into quitting. I told myself that like, this isn't for me, that, maybe this platform is for other people. And maybe I was just not natural at it, right? It just didn't come easy. And I almost let that voice win. And then things started to change, right? So a few months later, just something clicked, but I was showing up consistently every day. I stopped guessing, right? I stopped just saying, okay, today is inspirational quotes, tomorrow is something else. And I started studying. I started studying what the people who were successful were doing. And I also started studying what I was doing that was working. And I found a pattern that changed everything. And I want to share that with you. This is one of those slides you should maybe take notes or take a screenshot. But every single post of mine that performed well, I looked at it. Not just mine, but all the high performers, right, in my space. I looked at what they were doing. And these 5 patterns, they kept showing up. So transformation stories, right? The before and after, the journey. People just don't want to know, how you got to where you are, right? They want to know the beginning. They want to know the middle. They want to know how you started and how you got here. So that transformation of before and after, people resonate with that. People also resonated with behind the scenes content. So the real work, real process, real life, not just the highlight reel, not just the good stuff, but like the actual work that you did. Some people also liked controversial takes, right? So the contrarian posts that challenged conventional wisdom, right? Something that maybe everybody else is thinking, but nobody wants to talk about it or nobody wants to say it out loud. Those also did well. And I also noticed that educational frameworks, so teaching what you know in structured, clear, useful ways, small bites, that also did well because it caused people to ask questions. And then personal vulnerability, it didn't mean share the whole world, but it just meant like the human moments, the hard days, the things that a lot of people probably keep. Sharing a snippet of that, right, resonated with people. And so I started rotating these 5 posts and I started doing it intentionally. And my impressions kind of stabilized. My follower growth became consistent. And more importantly, the right people started to find me. I systematized what had been like random, and then the results became predictable. And that's the word that I want you to hold on to tonight, is predictable. What do you need to do to start getting that predictable result? Because it's not luck, right? It's a system, and any system can be learned. And that's what I learned. And so about like 18 months after I finally quit, right, it looks like where we are today. We're growing constantly with our followership, but it's more than that. It's building relationships, like people who actually want to be in our ecosystem, right, are joining, are linking arms. And now our impressions per post are growing, and consistently, not occasionally. And so think about like a large football stadium or a soccer stadium, right? And you're in the middle, and that's your post, and you have 5,000 people staring at you, right? Staring at what you're saying. And that's what it looks like now daily. And we're having about like 250 qualified conversations in my DMs every single week. That's what that looks like, right? And now Phoenix has a little over 120 investors in our database, and a lot of them came from LinkedIn. And I want you to understand what all of that means, right? You don't need to be famous. You don't need to go viral. You don't need 300,000 followers. You just need to be strategic. You need to be consistent. So it's not one and done. It's not two and done. And you need to have the right system. And so that is what changed everything for me. And I want to kind of hand that to you tonight. I want to show you kind of what worked, what didn't work, and how you can replicate this. And so I built this system, right? I went from being trapped, good income, zero leverage, no freedom. And the only person who knew my name was my hospital, the administration, my patients. Me was chasing everything. Every opportunity required me to initiate it, to pitch, to convince. And today I can say that that looks different, right? Now there are multiple streams of income. There's equity in real estate. I have this global platform that's growing, and truly people reach out to me because they found me on LinkedIn, because they found me in my content, right? And these opportunities are not finding me. The beauty of it all is that I still practice emergency medicine, but now it's on my terms. And it's because I love it, not because I have to. And that distinction, right, between choice and necessity is what this system gave me. And I want that for you. So I want you to be thinking in every conversation, how can I replicate this? And I want to tell you something that maybe you haven't heard before or maybe seen, right? The numbers are real, the followers, the impressions, the investors, all of that, right? But this is what the numbers actually opened, and nobody else tells you that, right? Now, because of the growth, right, in Phoenix, right, brokers now reach out to us and say, hey, we have a deal before it hits the market, because our reputation has preceded me in rooms that I have not even physically entered, right? That's what that looks like. Now, institutional investors are reaching out to talk about partnership. What could this look like? They're finding me. You know, speaking invitations land my inbox from conferences I never even applied to, because someone on a committee saw my LinkedIn content and thought, man, she might be good to have her talk to our people. And I just got invited to speak on a panel on real estate and finance to African professionals across the country. And that just keeps happening. But that's the work that has gotten done on the back end that they are seeing. So I want you to hear this, right? I walk into rooms not because like I got better in 3 years, right? It's not because I got smarter. It's not because I look different, not because I worked harder, but because now the right people know who you are, right? And that's what it means when you're positioning yourself very strategically on LinkedIn. It's not just like I'm going to build a following, but that strategy, right? It builds a reputation that opens doors that you did not even know existed, right? Or places that you didn't even know that you needed to be in, right? Those are now opening. And again, you know, I keep stressing, that's what I want for every single person who's listening, who's on the call, who's going to be replaying this webinar. What could that look like for you? And now I want to say something that might sting a little, and I say it with love because I've lived it, right? A lot of us went to school longer than most people worked their first job, right? You passed the exams that broke other people. You survived training that tested everything that you had. You built a career that most people would be very proud of. And then LinkedIn doesn't know you exist, right? And your profile might be there, right? It might just be your name, your credentials listed, and then that's it. But your story, your expertise, your vision of what you're building doesn't exist. You're just invisible. And this is the hard truth. In 2026, right? People who are winning, the ones who are getting the deals, the stages, the partnerships, the investors, the mentees, the invitations, they're not the most qualified. But they're just visible. They're the most visible. They're the people who talk the loudest. And you've spent years becoming qualified. Why don't you now also become visible? So how do you do this? It comes down to 3 secrets that I want to share with you. But before that, I want to share this quick video.
I'm Uzamaka Eke. I'm a physician in Maryland. Since joining this course, I have learned how to leverage my voice, my experience. I have learned how to share my story. I've learned how to be authentic and vulnerable, things that I could never do before. And this has really given me more confidence in my brand, has given me the leverage I needed to be able to really put myself out there.
So that is Dr. Eke. And before I share these 3 secrets, I wanted you to hear that and to see what was possible. Like, she's not a celebrity. She didn't have a massive following. She was just a professional who wanted to build something just like you, but she didn't know how to do it. And so she was showing up like inconsistently on LinkedIn, second guessing herself. And then she started learning some of these principles and something shifted, right? It wasn't overnight, but it was deliberate. And so she tells kind of how LinkedIn is actively changing the trajectory of her business. And I just find that really cool. She learned the system and then she started using it. And that's what that looks like. So let's go on to talk about the 3 secrets. And so how did I actually build all of it? It comes down to these 3 secrets. And I call them secrets, not because they're hidden in some vault, but because a lot of us, like even smart professionals, they completely miss all 3. And missing even one of them is the difference between like posting randomly and then generating really solid results. Because being invisible and undeniable, right, there's such a big difference. And so spending time on LinkedIn and actually building wealth through it is possible. So secret number 1 is about the vehicle. Secret number 2 is about that internal belief, what you believe about what you can achieve. And then secret number 3 is the external belief. And we're going to go through this, but when we go through it together, right, you understand exactly why maybe LinkedIn hasn't been working for you and exactly what to do about it. So stick around to the end. I promise you that it's going to be worth it. So I told you secret number 1 is the vehicle. This is kind of the false belief that kills most professionals even before they start, right? They think LinkedIn is just for job hunters, it's for corporate people, to make it like work for your business. Maybe you need to become some sort of influencer. And that's not me, right? That's what you're thinking. And I believe that too. But this is the truth, right? LinkedIn is definitely not a job board. It's not a place to collect all these connections like baseball cards or Pokemon cards. And it's not a place where you need to like dance on camera before someone sees you or gets to know you. It's none of that. It is a relationship and opportunity engine. That's what it is. And if you use it well, right, it's going to build trust with people who matter while you're not there, right? In the middle of the night, because it's 24 hours, while you're in the hospital, if you work in the hospital, while you're at your kid's soccer game, right? It's going to be working for you. It's truly the only platform where like a physician CEO in Nashville can wake up to a DM from like an institutional investor in Dubai who says, I found you at 2 a.m. in the morning and I want to know more. That's what that looks like, right? And that's what it did for me. So let me show you the system. This is the content system. I talked a little bit about it, but again, it's those 5 post types and that's it, right? You don't, and this is the cool thing, right? You don't need to reinvent the wheel, right? You just need to sit and write. And so thinking again about those transformation stories. So those transformation posts. So your story, right? Where you started, what happened, where you are now. People don't align with you because your credentials, like because of your credentials, they align with you and they invest in the journey and because they want to see themselves in your story. And that's why you tell these stories. And so then the behind the scenes, that's the real work. So show, how you closed the deal, how you built the business, how you started the program, the early morning calls, the moment that something didn't work out, right? I would say this, and I've learned this: authenticity builds trust faster than like any polished content will. So if somebody finds you authentic, they'll most likely want to link arms with you. I told you about those controversial takes, right? Talk about it, right? Don't upset anyone, right? But the thing is, like, safe content sometimes is easy to forget, but posts that say something really real, that challenge normal assumption, that they have a clear position, those usually stick. So that doesn't have to be every single thing you talk about, but I think every now and then, if you do it, it's going to work. And then I told you about educational frameworks. So teach what you know. Give real value. When you teach someone something useful, they usually come back for more. And so you start with little, and you build on that. And then when they keep coming back for more, they start trusting you. And then lastly, I told you about the vulnerability post, like the human stuff, the thing that you almost didn't want to talk about. Those are posts that make strangers feel like they know a little bit about you, right? And if they want to align with you, they want to partner with you, they want to invest with you, then they want to know you. So these 5, rotate them. I told you the word was predictable, and that's what a system like this gives you. This is the moment that it became real to me. And I told you about this investor, but I wanted to show you actually the DM that happened. And so around June 2024, I'd been building on LinkedIn about a year. I was growing steadily, getting more consistent, starting to feel like I knew what I was doing. And then I got this direct message. It was from a doctor I had never met, never spoken to, never connected with in any other context other than a connection here. And she said, "Great connecting with you. I've been following your content for months. Let me know what the next steps are for investing." She had already decided. That's what it is, right? She had already made a decision. She had seen, she had trusted, she had believed, and now she was just taking the next step. She had been reading for months, and she had been seeing the deals that I'd been working on. She had seen my story. She had seen the framework, and she had started to build enough trust to make a decision to do a 6-figure investment with me, right? I didn't pitch. It wasn't a cold call. I actually remember that Zoom conversation, and it just felt, it was easy. Not one outreach message. It was just through content, and she came ready, right? She was like, "Okay, I'm ready. So let me just make sure that this person is real." And that's when I truly understood the strategy behind positioning yourself and what it actually does and what it could get you. It's not about broadcasting. It's not about going viral. You just need the right people. It's that building that trust consistently over time. And so that when the right person finds you, they'll say, what's the next step, right? And that's what it looked like. She invested $100,000. And the same thing can happen to you. I was just growing at that point, right? You don't need a massive audience. You just need to be strategic about it. Now, this is where most people get things wrong, right? So I talked to you about content, and I said that's really important, right? Post great content, people will come. That content will help you attract them, but outreach, so then going out is how you convert. And the most powerful LinkedIn strategies, they combine both, so content and outreach. And so then the DM sequence, right? That kind of, when they start reaching out, when they start engaging in your content, then you try to reach out to them. And start with context, right? When you reach out, reference something specific, maybe their content, their profile, a post, show them that you actually pay attention to them, right? Then give value. Don't ask for anything. Just maybe send them an article, share an insight, offer a resource, something. Just be useful first. But what that does is it's going to open the door to help you start building a genuine relationship. So not a pitch, not, "Are you interested in joining my course? Are you interested in joining my mentorship program?" Just a real conversation, because you're a real human. And then when the timing is right, then extend an invitation, maybe like a discovery call, a conversation, something that is no pressure, but real purpose. And then follow through long-term. I've noticed that the best relationships on LinkedIn are not transactional. They just compound over time. It takes time, it takes work, but it is possible. So again, right, content will bring them into your orbit, and then the outreach is what keeps them there. So continue that and then take it out of LinkedIn. So that's just something that you should think about, pay attention to, and maybe start to implement. I want to show you some real numbers from real posts, not my best day ever, not a fluke viral moment, but like truly just average posts and content rotation with different contents that I've put out. And my average, like some of them are highlights. So there's some that have 16,000 eyes, 8,000, 20,000, right? But average, right? Just that's the amount of people that are in my target audience that are looking at what I'm doing, that see the content every single time I post. So that's executives, investors, high income earners, busy professionals, physicians. It's not luck, right? It's using that 5-post system applied over time. And that's, again, what predictability looks like when you're doing it in a system. And that's the whole point that I want to talk to you about tonight. So secret number one, which is the vehicle, LinkedIn is not a resume. Stop treating it like that. It's an opportunity engine. And when run right, like through the right content, it works like around the clock. And so think about that strategy of content and then outreach. I would say try to implement that this week and see what you get. You don't have to be an influencer. You don't need to, again, dance on camera. You don't need to have the whole world following you. Just be visible, do your thing to the right people. So that's the first secret. Secret number two is about it's a thing that a lot of people it stops them before they actually even take the first step. And so that's one thing I want to talk to you about. And this one resonates with me a lot. Is this secret number two? It's the one that like lives between your ears. And it's the one that stops a lot of brilliant people from ever taking the first step. And it sounds like this: I'm not a natural content creator. I'm not good at marketing. I'm too private for this. I'm not interesting enough. This works for her. It works for other people who are like naturally charismatic. And I've heard it all. And you're like, it's just not for me. And I know this belief intimately well because I had it too. I know maybe it might be hard to believe what I'm about to tell you, but I really think I'm an introvert. At least I'm more of an introvert than an extrovert. And I went into medicine in part because I'm more comfortable in the clinical setting than maybe at a cocktail party, right? I do not love self-promotion. It just makes me feel uncomfortable. And like my team knows that really well. And yet, right, this is what I discovered. You don't need to change who you are to make this work. You just need to create a system that works with who you are. And I want to show you what that looks like. So I want to tell you who I was 3 years ago on LinkedIn. I had an account. It had my name. It had some credentials and then nothing else, right? I wasn't posting. I wasn't engaging. I was just lurking. I was consuming other people's content and thinking, well, I can't do that. Like, how did they even come up with that? And it's not because I didn't have anything to say, but it was because I was afraid. I was afraid of being judged by my colleagues. I was afraid of saying the wrong thing. I was afraid of being someone who was trying too hard. I was afraid of being someone who was uncertain. I was afraid of putting myself out there and having no one respond. You know, I had that classic physician relationship with visibility. You know, we are trained to be excellent, but we're not trained to be seen. We're trained to serve, but not to be known. And so the idea of sitting down and writing something personal and posting it where everyone could read it, right? It just felt very, very, very uncomfortable. And I think I'm not the only one. I'm pretty sure someone here can relate to that. So if you relate or resonate, so I'm not by myself, drop a yes in the chat if like any of this sounds like a reason or hesitation why you haven't taken the first step. I would like to know, just so I don't feel like I'm the only one. But, or maybe you might even be too uncomfortable to say yes in the chat, but that'll make me feel like it's not just me, but right. And this is where, okay, good. I got, you're not the only one. I feel the same. Great. I know a lot of us are in the same boat. And this is what changed everything for me. And this is a practical solution to kind of like a blank page problem, right? We created a course called LinkedIn Unlocked, and a lot of the fear is that I don't know what to say. I don't have the system. I don't have all the things, right? But in it, we have dozens of templates that I've used, tried, tested. there are multiple for like every single post type, every single variation. So you're not sitting down staring at your cursor wondering what to write, right? Especially if you're if it doesn't come naturally for you, storytelling or, you know, just writing an educational post. So a lot of the times it's easier to start by like just filling in the blanks, your own story, your own experience, your own expertise. And that's kind of what it looks like, right? So this is like just a simple template for a transformation post. And it says kind of like, it goes along somewhere like, some years ago, like you know, I was struggling with something. Maybe I failed at something, a solution that you tried, and then you say why that didn't work. And then you kind of talk about, so that was the before, right? And then you talk about, I discovered this thing, whatever your method, whatever you're selling, whatever you're pitching, whatever you're trying to, whatever the way you're trying to give value, you can say, I discovered that method. And then today, what change has happened. And then at the end of it, just kind of talk about like what you learned so that they can take something from it. That framework, right? That is a LinkedIn post that resonates with every human every single time, because it's a story and we are wired for story, right? We connect with stories. I have told you multiple stories today, and you can probably tell it back to me in 6 months, because it's easy to connect that to me and for you to relate to something that I've said. So just plug in your truth and then post it. And now with the advent of AI, like it's so much easier for us, but you're kind of all set. But the creative barrier to doing that thing disappears when you have the right tools. And so here's the thing about the system that I love the most, right? It's flexible. It meets you where you are. If you're an introvert, you can lean. You don't have to always put a picture or turn on your camera and start recording a video. You can lean into like behind the scenes educational content. You don't have to talk about yourself. Talk about what you know. Talk about what you can teach, what you can offer. If you don't like self-promotion, then lead with value. Teach something, help someone, show them how you got from point A to like point A and a half or something, right? You're not promoting yourself. You're just being useful. And again, right, I alluded to like, if you're uncomfortable with being visible, start with text-only posts. Don't have to put a picture, just words, but build from there. At some point, you have to be a little vulnerable and let people know and see you, because they want to relate with a human. And if you don't like sales, right, if you're just not good at it, then build with authority. When people know you as the expert in your space, they come to you already convinced, right? So you're not really selling. You're just giving them an opportunity to say yes. That's what it looks like if you're like, well, I'm not the right person. This might not work for me. It should meet you where you are and then help you grow from there. And then there's a time objection. And I know you're like, well, I don't have time. I can't add something else to my already full plate. I'm busy. I have a career. I have a family. I'm trying to build another business. All these things, right? I'm trying to build simultaneously. The last thing I need is another commitment. I want to tell you the real number. And what if you put in 90 minutes and it resulted in 3 solid leads who became clients, investors, mentees, or one of them invites you to speak on stage, which then allows you to talk to a global audience, right? What would that 90 minutes be worth? And so when you think about setting up, right, after the initial setup, it's going to take around 5 hours to really build your profile, all the things that you need to do, but that's across maybe a week or 2. Then think about like 90 minutes, maybe 30 minutes of content creation with the templates, 30 minutes of like outreach, because you have to connect with people, you have to grow, you have to send them messages, and then 30 minutes of like engagement and deep relationship building. That's 90 minutes a day. It is less time than most of us spend doom scrolling on Instagram, LinkedIn, news without any intention behind it, right? So what could doing all of that versus building something that could move you forward in life, what's the difference, right? And then as you build, right, every post is an asset, every connection is a relationship, and it's stored there for you, for them to see it for a very long period of time. Every conversation is a potential opportunity, so you're not wasting that time. I've lived it. I've lived the math. It works. So you should convince yourself to try to commit to doing something. And just don't think about it from like what I've done, right? But what you are capable of doing. Could I commit to that? Could you start with a little bit less and build? And then you're like, well, what if it doesn't work for me, right? It works for you, but it doesn't work for me. This system works. If you really say, I'm committing to doing this, right, to being consistent, to putting yourself out there, to building, right, it's going to work. The only way it doesn't work is if you don't do it, right? If you maybe post once a week, once every 2 weeks, if you're impatient about growth. But remember, this is about building relationships, right? So it's going to take a little bit of time. So if you're impatient, it might not work for you. And if you quit, if you send maybe a few messages and you're just like, this is not for me, it won't work. It's not a vending machine. So it's not like you put in something, one post, or you send one DM and you get out one client. It's not that. It's compounding over time. So the more you build, the more it builds, and the algorithm works in your favor. So this is what I want to tell you. If you decide to implement the system and you are consistent and you don't see meaningful results, I want to know, because that would tell me that something is wrong with the framework, and I want to fix it. I want to keep working so that this can be helpful to a lot of people. So when you hear about the system coming up, like, there's like 100% money back guarantee, because it's going to work. And if it doesn't, then I want to learn why. So you take zero risks, because I do believe, I've seen the success, I've seen the growth, and I do believe that it's going to work. And so the question you might also be asking as well, who am I to position myself as an authority, right? I'm not the most successful person in my field. People might think I'm a fraud. I hear that consistently. I felt it myself. I laugh because I resonate with a lot of, when I hear people and I hear their stories, I chuckle a little bit, because that was me. And this is a truth that changed my relationship with visibility. And I really want you to hear this, right? You do not need to be the #1 expert in your field. You just need to be 2 to 3 steps ahead of the person that you're trying to reach and you're trying to help. That's it. So I would give kind of like an example, right? If you're a healthcare professional and you've built a side income, right, some sort of stream, and you're talking to other healthcare professionals who haven't started, you're ahead of them. You have something to teach. You have value to give, right? If you've made your first real estate investment and you're talking to professionals who are still like all in their 401k, you have something to offer. You can show them how to do it. But imposter syndrome tells you that you need to be perfect. You need to show up. Before you show up, you need to be perfect. And the truth is, you build credibility by showing up. And it took me a long time to fully understand that. But you don't build credibility before. You have a baseline, but you continue to build by showing up, putting in the reps, being consistent. The journey, right? Your journey is the content. And so start with where you are, and share what you know, and then build from there. That is what that looks like. And so secret number 2 takeaway is that you can do this, right? You have the templates, that internal belief. I want you to shift it. I want you to walk away with this section being super simple. Like, it's not, I can do it. There's nothing stopping me from doing it. I have everything that I need to succeed, because you do. The only thing that's kind of missing now is like, okay, how do I really start implementing this? And secret number 3 is the last excuse. This is the external one. This is the outside. This is one that says like, well, it might work for other people because their situation is different from mine. And that's the external objection, right? This one sounds like it might work for her because she's a doctor in real estate, and that's this really cool, unique intersection. And my situation is different, right? My industry is different. My audience is not on LinkedIn. Any excuse that you want to have, you can make it valid, because I had it too. I was thinking, well, real estate investors, they don't really use LinkedIn. They're for corporate people. And that's what I told myself early on. And it turns out that I was wrong in the most expensive way. And I want to share this with you because the data doesn't lie, right? There are over 1 billion, that's billion with a B, professionals on LinkedIn across over 200 countries. 4 out of 5 of them drive business decisions, and they're 1 click away from you. 63 million of them truly are decision makers. They're senior level influencers. 10 million of them are C-suite executives. Think attorneys, executives, business owners, investors, physicians. Every single category of person that you need to reach is here. They're reading the content right now, and they're making decisions about kind of who to invest with, who to work with, who to partner with. Right now, they're doing that. And the only question is whether they see you, whether what you have is in front of them. And your audience is there, they're just not seeing you yet. And that ends I'm hoping that that ends tonight. And one of the things you might say is like, I need more results before I start. I need more credibility. I need more experience before I can position myself as an authority. And this one is so common, but it's so expensive because you'll never start if you keep thinking that. And I told you, and I'll say it again, you build credibility by showing up, not before, but like as you show up, you start building it. The journey is the content, your process, how you got from point A to point B is the proof, and your story is the strategy. You don't need to have arrived. You just need to be on the way, but you need to start. People don't only follow people who have already made it, right? They follow people who are becoming, who are in the process of figuring it out, sharing lessons along the way. They resonate with that. So I would say this one, I just want you to hear me. Start where you are, because where you are right now, someone else is behind you and someone else is watching and wishing that they were where you are. So why don't you start now and build from there? Be the person for them that you needed 2 years ago, you needed last year, you needed 6 months. Be that person for them and start teaching what you already know. And so secret number 3, the takeaway is that this will work for you. Your audience is on LinkedIn. There are tons of people, by tons, I mean billions of professionals on LinkedIn. Your field isn't too crowded. Your industry does not disqualify you. The principles are kind of universal, right? Your experience is enough. Your journey is the content, and your circumstance doesn't hold you back. It's actually like, that's your story. And so the system is going to work for people like me. That's how you kind of need to change that shift, because it does. So I want to start showing you exactly what the system is and what you get. But let's take kind of stock of where we are right now. So you've seen what's possible. You've seen the numbers. You've seen the stories. You've seen the proof. You understand kind of the 3 secrets, right? The vehicle, the internal belief, the external belief. Now you know that this can work for you, not just me. That's what I want to instill, that like, if you do the things, right, this can also work for you, not just like other people. So the question is whether or not you're ready, right? So let me show you what that looks like. But before I do that, let me be clear. This part, I really want to be clear about what this isn't. It's not for you if you want a shortcut. Like if you want to get a course or a program and do nothing and wake up and the whole world is chasing after you, then this isn't it, right? Because you have to do the work. And this is not for you if you're willing to show up. If you're not willing to show up consistently, if you want to be inconsistent, this is also not for you, because real outreach, real relationship building, that's what needs to happen. And so if you can't show up consistently, then it's not for you. And this is not for you if you want someone else to build your presence for you, right? I can hand you the system, but you have to be the one who uses it. You have to do the work. You have to be consistent. You have to put in the reps. And finally, this is not for you if you are not ready to be visible. If you think you want to be seen, but you really don't, then maybe this isn't for you. If the idea of being visible on LinkedIn still feels like too much, then maybe take some time and kind of reassess, okay, what do I really want? And then maybe come back. So if you are a healthcare professional, a physician, a busy professional who has built something real, and you're just super done with being invisible, then this is for you. If you are ready to stop letting the right opportunities pass by you to someone else, then this is for you. If you're ready to build a LinkedIn presence that works for you around the clock, then this is for you. It's for you. It's because of you that I built this. And so I want to show you what's inside of it. Okay, so it's the LinkedIn Unlocked system, and it's a complete 6-module system. Module 1 covers your foundation. So it's going to cover profile optimization, making sure that when the right person lands on your page, everything they see from like the second they see maybe the picture, the everything about you, right? The story, the initial bio, everything they start seeing is going to build trust and make them want to know you more. That's the first one. And then module 2, I talked a little bit about it, but that's the 5-post content system, which we went over today. So use it, customize it, deploy it. You're never starting from scratch because you have a lot to work with. And then module 3 is kind of the strategic networking outreach. That's the DM sequence. So the relationship building framework, right? How to go from just just engaging to like having conversations that convert, thinking through all of that, right? There is some predictability that goes into that. So what the conversation should be like. Of course, you're talking to a human, so it's going to evolve, but like even thinking through the beginning parts, that's important. And module 4 is the thought leadership and authority building. So how you position yourself as the go-to person in your space, right? That is also important. So then you've built LinkedIn and now you're using it to serve a specific purpose. And module 5 is really more about business building. So how to connect your LinkedIn presence to real revenue, how to now start moving outside of LinkedIn into your own community, your own ecosystem. So whether that's investors, clients, partnerships, mentees, speaking, whatever that looks like for you, that module talks about that. And then module 6 is really more of social proof and like all the systems. So how to build a kind of reputation that's going to precede you. That's what those look like. So it's 6 modules, 50 plus lessons, 15 hours. And then now there's also a section that kind of helps you use AI to augment what you're already doing. So that's also included. And that's just the beginning. So inside of it, right, you'll get the full complete template library that I talked about. You get all the post templates for all the 5 posts, and DM scripts for every conversation that you encounter. You'll get all the profile optimization templates, how to do it. You get discovery call frameworks, like even like objection response scripts. If somebody says, I'm not sure, kind of what to do, a full content, complete content calendar. And then also, if you are raising capital, there's a specific capital raising track, which I have kind of, I've made available if that is something that you are interested in. So the library alone costs $1,997, but all of that is included in the course today. And so as part of the founding 100 members, you get something that is not available after tonight. And in addition to the course, you're going to get 12 monthly live group coaching calls. So you get 1 full year of direct access to me, our whole team. So we go deep on specific situation, your content, your outreach, your results, and we just kind of break it down. So, and then there's a private community that you're involved in. So think about like a bunch of healthcare professionals, busy professionals, physicians, all together who are building exactly what you're building. So you're even building relationships inside of this ecosystem. So it's just like we come together, kind of brainstorm everything, how to move you forward in exactly what you're doing. And then you get direct access to ask a bunch of questions. You also get priority access to all the future programs as LinkedIn changes, right? The algorithm changes, how you show up changes over time. It's changed since we started building this. So you have access to what that looks like. And after this founding 100 spots are closed, all of this access will be gone. And so we'll just have the course, which I still think is wonderful, but all the additional benefits will be gone. And that's, I think, one of the biggest things is that everything like you need to grow is available. You just need to figure out what's possible and what isn't. So this is what you're going to get, right? So the course, the template library, the 12 coaching calls, private community access, direct access, priority future access. You're going to get all of that. And all of that together is over 10,000, but that's too much. That's just too high, and we're not doing that. I will tell you this. I shared this story with just a few people. Remember when I told you I was struggling with building LinkedIn, right? I paid someone more than I can admit to help me grow, and I didn't get anything from it. And so I know what it feels like to like toss a ton of money into something and not get the result. And I tried that. And so your investment today is nowhere close to that because it has to make sense, right? I want it to work for you and I want you to see what's possible. So let me show you what the price is. But before I do that, this is another LinkedIn Unlocked student, and she is she's just a fave of mine, and she is a professional just like you. She came here unsure. She was afraid. She was like, I don't want to be seen, but I have something to share. She was second guessing herself. She went through the modules. She used the template. She showed up. She shows up till today consistently. And today she now tells me like LinkedIn is actively changing the trajectory of her business, right? She's no longer afraid to be visible. She's connecting with people. She's showcasing her business at various events. She's excited. And she did not have to go viral, right? She didn't hire a marketing team. She just learned the system and she used it and she showed up consistently. Every call that we have, she's there, she's asking questions, she's building, she's growing. And that's what that looks like, right? And so this is the founding member. There are only 10 spots left because the goal is to have 100 people who are growing. And then after that, you get everything else. But this first founding 100 get all of the access, the community building. And so you get all of that for $1,750. And that price is only available 24 hours after tonight's webinar closes. So you get everything. Like I said, the course, the templates, the live coaching, private community, lifetime access to future updates. You get all of that tonight. Now, I wanted to just share with you, because these are direct messages from directly from LinkedIn about, like, from doctors, busy professionals who signed up for the course, who missed the 24 hours and was like, can I jump in? But they're already seeing immediate results. And I want to give you like 30 seconds to quickly read through it. But the excitement, the positive results are encouraging. People are growing. They're moving their business forward, and they're using a platform that is free. And that, I think, is just like a life-changing, easy way to market without having to spend marketing dollars. And it's just building solid relationships. So if you missed the last 10 spots that are available because you needed a little bit more time, you have till Sunday midnight, and you'll still get all access to all of that at $1,997. Everything's included, and you're still getting that same access. So you might need more than 24 hours to make a decision, and that's okay. You have that option. Now, I want to tell you about the guarantee, because I mean this completely. If you implement the system, post consistently, use the templates, run the outreach, do the work, and you don't get meaningful results, I will give you every dollar back. Plus, I will personally get on a one-on-one strategy call with you to figure out why. Because if the system isn't working for you, I want to know. I want to fix it. I want to understand what is not translating. So you take zero financial risk. I take it all, because I truly believe that this works. So hold me to this offer. If you're interested and if you're really thinking about it, hold me to it. And as we wrap up, one of my mentors told me that for every decision that he makes, he asks himself what his 102-year-old self would tell him if he was looking back at his life. And he said, I always tell myself to swing for the fences every single time. And so you might be at a fork in the road right now, and it's not a dramatic metaphor. It's a real one, right? So you can go through the first path. We'll say the path on the left. You close it tonight, you end the webinar, you go back to doing what you're doing. And 3 months from now, you're exactly where you were, same in visibility, same trying to build something, same opportunities going to someone else, same feeling that you're capable of more, but you're not doing it, right? And you're seeing that other people are getting those results. That's the left, that's path one. Path two, you join the last 10 founding members, founding 100 members tonight, and you implement the system and you post consistently and you run the outreach and you build the relationships. And 3 months from now, your LinkedIn is working for you. It's growing steadily. It's not magical overnight, but now you're having qualified conversations. They are landing in your DMs. Opportunities are starting to find you, and it's only getting better. And the compounding has started. The decision that you make in the next few minutes will determine kind of which path you're on. And I know the one I want you to be on, but the choice has to be yours. And so I want to reframe the question about the cost equation, right? The question is not whether 1,750 is a lot of money. The question is what it costs you to not invest in yourself, your growth, where you want to be in the next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. Every single year that you spend invisible on LinkedIn is another year that opportunities are going to someone else. I wish I built this 5, 7 years ago. And that looks like another year of staying dependent on the thing that you're doing right now when you have maybe an idea, a thought, a trajectory, a path that you want to go in. It's another year of people just watching, of you watching people build their freedom, something that you know you're capable of. And I would say that is an expensive choice. So staying invisible for another year is going to cost you in ways that are impossible to fully calculate. So I can't calculate what that expense looks like on a number scale, but you should do the math. And when you do the math, and if it's just not worth it for you, then make a decision. And as we wrap up tonight, this is 3 years ago, I was exactly where some of you are sitting right now. I was trapped. I was frustrated. I felt invisible despite like everything I had built. I knew I was capable of more, but I could not figure out how to make the right people see it, right? And so today, it looks like I'm speaking on global stages, managing a significant amount of capital and real estate assets along with our wonderful investors, still practicing emergency medicine by choice on my own terms, you know, just because of how much I love it, right? And opportunities are finding me consistently, predictably, but through the system that I've built. I will say this, I'm not special. I'm not uniquely gifted. I don't have more advantages than you have, but I have a strategy. I had a strategy and I used it. And that's the same system that I've built and I'm giving you access to. So it is your turn. Our team will put a link. The link should be put up. And I think it'll also be in the chat. But if you are like, I really want to do this, I want to figure it out, then come join us and we can figure it out together. So that's what that looks like. And I wanted to just share that with you. So again, the link should be live right now. Click on it and then kind of go from there. We're going to have our first live coaching call for the next group of people in the next 2 weeks. You'll be able to get access to everything as soon as you sign up. And then the community invitation is going to come in an email right away. So you can start building tonight. If you're as excited as one of our the people who bought the course recently, and she started the same night. If that's you, then by all means, you can start tonight. But I'm going to open it up for questions. Drop them in the chat. I want to answer every single one of them. So if there's something that you're like, I'm not sure, how did you do this? How did you start? What does it look like? Type it, put it in the chat. I'd love to answer it. But the spots are open. So feel free to ask me any questions and then we can take it from there. Okay. Oh, great. Questions are up. For someone who is already busy with work, family, and other responsibilities, how much time does LinkedIn actually require each week to start seeing results? This is a great question. And I will say, in order to build this, you're going to have to, it does require some time. I think in the beginning, building your profile, like if you are completely new to LinkedIn, it's going to take a little bit of time to build your profile, to start building a content bank, and to maybe even create a lead magnet to just kind of help you build the platform. But I would say each week, it looks like on a daily basis, if you can give about an hour to LinkedIn, and that looks like creating a post, engaging, following up on the engagement, and just being somewhat present. If you can do that and break that down, that doesn't have to be 60 minutes at the same time. That could look like 30 minutes here, 15 minutes here. But if you could try to do that, I think you'll definitely see result. And the more you get more familiar with the platform, the easier that looks like. The next question, I see the next. Okay, great. How do you know what parts of your story are worth sharing and what should stay private? Oh, this one's really good. So this is a judgment call. There are certain parts of your story that more people will resonate with than you think. Now, I don't expect you to, like, if you're someone who never wants to talk about your kids online or your family, then don't do it. There's no reason why you should. But if there are parts of you, like in your struggle to build something, in your struggle to like how you show up, right? I think some of those things you can talk about. And if you are nervous about it, I would start small. I would start with something that you could tell to your brother or your sister, right? I would start with that and then see how you feel about doing that and see how receptive it is. And I would go from there. But I am not asking you to air everything online. Please don't do that. But I think that people want to connect with people. And so they want to connect with your fears and your struggles and your successes. So I would say start with that, but it's definitely a judgment call. I used to not, I'll tell you a story. I probably didn't used to post as much about kind of my life. And one day I was on LinkedIn, or like maybe the Sunday before, I couldn't think of anything to post. Work was kicking my butt. And Phoenix was kind of struggling. We were building and it was just going slowly. And so I think I just put a post and I said, and the next day, Monday morning, I put a post and I was like, this is hard. Like building is hard. I was like, this is difficult. I understand why some people will want to quit. And I wrote that, right? And I will tell you the outpouring of love that I got, the people came from the woodworks and were like, man, we see what you're doing. We see what you're building. We really like it. Keep going, right? And I I was too scared to post that, but truly I was just like physically exhausted, mentally exhausted. And I put that. And so people will shock you, people will surprise you. So I would say, I would just kind of leave that to you, to what you think is fair, but like be a little uncomfortable, because I think when you're a little uncomfortable, that's when you see the growth. There are some more questions. The next one. Okay. For someone who is, we did this one, right? That one, we've already done that one. So I'll read the third one. Our team is a little behind on the question, so I'll read that one just so we don't waste people's time. Okay. So, hello, Doc. You mentioned that this is not for someone who, let me read this. Okay. You mentioned that this is not for someone who would like someone else to do it for them. But I'm actually an assistant of a business owner that wants to maximize his LinkedIn, but he's very hands-on, especially writing content on his own. And I'm just helping him with about the content calendar or searching for topics. Will this course be a good fit for the two of us? Because we are working as a team, but would like to get your opinion on this. Absolutely. Yes. So it'll help you, and you can be an assistant and learn. And if he still wants to be hands-on, that's okay too. But I definitely think that it'll help you, because he will understand kind of how to post, what to post, how to reach out, DM strategy, thought leadership building. So I definitely think that it'll help him. And then as the assistant, right, I think it will also help you, and you can fill in the gaps for him. So I definitely think yes. And working as a team, I also think that that's a wonderful idea. If someone has not posted in months or their profile feels outdated, where should they start first? The profile, the content, the outreach? I would start with the profile, because when someone lands on your profile, right, when they click on your name and they land on your profile, that's the first thing they see before they start seeing your post, right? So I would say work on it. And there's nothing wrong. Like you could have been silent for years, and then you took your first step today. So I definitely think it's not too late, but I would say start with your profile first, build that out, and that doesn't take a long time, and then start doing the content. But I would wait on the outreach. I would not rush to outreach. Build, give value first, and then start the outreach. This is not a one day. This is not like become super successful and blow up in one day. There's work that needs to be done. I would focus on the profile as you're building the content, and then the outreach will come naturally, and then you can augment that. That would be my my answer. What happens if what happens if you a few different things? Should I pick one, or can I connect with them in? I don't understand this question. Can someone rewrite this question? If you wrote this question, could you please rewrite it so I can? Should I pick one, or I can connect with them into? Okay, I'm not going to try to figure it out. Just try to rewrite the question and bring it back, and hopefully I can answer. When you reach out to a prospect yourself, how do you start a conversation, especially when the person doesn't have any post or something that they can discuss with, but they're your ICP? I would not sell to this person. And this is why I think you're the same person who asked the question of what should I do first? build yourself first before you reach out to your ICP. They need to be able to see something, connect with you, know your story before they're likely to buy from you, to connect with you. And I'll say this, right? I get a lot of DMs, not from me, but from other people who are trying to sell to me. And I ignore 75% of them for this reason, right? I have nothing to connect with them, and we don't have anything in common, and I don't know them. So the likelihood of me buying from them are slim to none. By that, I mean probably 0%. So I honestly, this is just my opinion and it's free advice. I wouldn't do this first. I would do the work first and then reach out to them, because what you don't want to do, especially if it's your ICP, you don't want them to block you. You don't want them to ignore you when you could have spent the time building, and then like this becomes more natural. I'm looking, I know there are a few more questions. Okay. Okay, as long as you guys are okay, there are a lot more questions. There's another one. Let me see. Are they all? Okay, I think I think all the questions have been answered. And if there isn't one that hasn't been, if someone's writing, so if you wanted to rewrite that question, please feel free to. But if not, reach out to me, send me a DM on LinkedIn and I'll answer it for you. So I think on that note, all the questions were answered. Thank you so much for hanging out. If you have any other questions, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and then we can take it from there. But this was wonderful. Thank you so much for staying through the whole time. And I look forward to connecting on LinkedIn with every single one of you. Okay, we got the question back up real quickly. From your story, you had access to doctors are we putting it up? You're very welcome. Okay, I'll just read it out loud. From your story, you had access to doctors from your medical profession. What if you don't have any connections? Oh, this is good. Okay, I'm glad that you rewrote that to answer that. You have to start. So you can't be, and this is one of the limiting beliefs that you could have, that you don't have people in your network. You're not speaking to the right people. But I would say you would be actually surprised. Do the work, build the value. If you have something of value to give, build around that and the people will come. You will do the work. But I don't think that relying on maybe saying that, we already have this network and that's why it's easier. I would say maybe that is that's just a false belief that you might be holding on to. Again, right? Build the profile. Start posting on what you know, start with your journey and then become an expert and then start reaching out to people and you will build your own network. You will build your own people. You will build your own connection. Okay, that is all I got. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. It's exactly 75 minutes. So thank you for your time and have a wonderful rest of your evening. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn and then we can take it from there. Goodbye, everyone. Good night.